He is the pride of Piscataway, New Jersey, now 11 seasons in the National Football League. Walter Payton, Man of the Year nominee for his team, the Philadelphia Eagles. And I will introduce you, Malcolm Jenkins, the same way I introduced you on NFL Network the other day. The only person on planet Earth to have 2 Super Bowl rings beating Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Malcolm Jenkins. You did not know that fact when I dropped that the other day.
I appreciate you teaching that, to me about myself. Now that's how I walk into every room. Like, hey, I'm the only guy on earth.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Brady, obviously, a couple years ago. And then Manning, 10 years ago in Miami.
Yeah.
How old were you? Was that your rookie year?
Rookie year. So I had to be 21.
What was that like walking into that stadium that night? I mean,
it was crazy. I mean,
in that game.
As a rookie, it was a long year. You go, you used to being done in November.
Right.
And playing maybe 12 games. We from the preseason all the way to the Super Bowl, it was probably 24 games. So I'm exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
Randall Gay was starting in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
And he got like walking pneumonia maybe 2 days before the game.
No way.
It's like in the third quarter, he just tapped out. The body shut down.
Mm-hmm. And
they throw me in. And for 3 plays straight, I just see Peyton Manning looking at me.
Flicking his chops.
He's changing the play every time he looks at me. I'm like, oh, God. But like after a couple snaps, I was good. But, man, it was a crazy, crazy game. We went into it knowing, like, look, we're going to have to steal a possession. So we're going to do this onside kick at some point in the game. We practiced it for a good 2 or 3 weeks. Did that right out of half and got that. And then Tracy Porter got the pick 6 late. And it was funny. We practiced that play maybe 10 times. Like, hey, Reggie Wayne is in the slot. And I think it was Collie was the slot receiver. He's at the number 1. If he motions down and running his follow route. And he ran it. Tracy Porter picks it off.
See ya.
Goes to the house.
To the house. And then we just found out, from Travis Kelce when he was here on Tuesday, they practiced that 1948 Rose Bowl play, that shocker on 4th and 1 in the first quarter, where they popped out some old school wild formation. Yeah. And he said they practiced that for 11 weeks. Yeah. 11 weeks.
That's how that goes. You keep it in your pocket until you need it. And your coach is bold enough to call it.
Well, I mean, he said the reason why that they practiced it for so long didn't use it is because Sammy Watkins couldn't, what do you say, spin? He couldn't pivot.
He couldn't rotate. He couldn't do the spin.
He couldn't do the spin. And he kept on stepping on himself with the spin, is what he said.
Football's a funny game.
It is a funny game. And how long was Philly's special being practiced?
You know what? I mean, it couldn't be. I never even saw it in practice. I think they might have ran it one time. I might have missed it in like a walkthrough or something. No
kidding.
But they never really like practiced it that many times.
So when that happened, were you like, where did this come from?
Yeah, I was surprised. I didn't know it was coming. It just
like the Patriots.
Yeah, you're right. Tom just dropped his. They ran the same one. Actually, it's a similar play. The Patriots ran theirs in the same game, and they ran it against us a couple years before.
Right.
But
no kidding.
Yeah,
so
I didn't see it.
Yeah,
that wasn't one that they were like practicing every week. Like, all right, we're gonna run this on somebody. It just came out of nowhere. I think they might have installed it that week.
It's amazing. I mean, we just named 3 of some of the more memorable plays in Super Bowl history. Obviously, the onside kick, the Philly special, and then the interception, and I guess maybe this 1948 Rose Bowl play we'll be talking about. On a 4th down. I mean, a 4th down, too. And also in Philadelphia what Andy Reid has meant there and what he was not, unfortunately, able to accomplish. What did you make of this Super Bowl? What are your impressions of what the Chiefs did and what the 49ers could have done? They were right there on the doorstep.
Yeah,
Malcolm.
I think the Chiefs really solidified themselves as just, they're that team to beat, now, just because you had a lot of teams that were able to jump on them, especially like the last 3 games for them. Teams jumped on them, scored points, tried to control the game, but it's inevitable that Mahomes is going to, make something happen, and they'll go on a stretch at some point in the game. Similar to like what we saw at Golden State a couple years ago, where it's like you can be up on them, but at some point in the game they're going to go on a run, and it's going to be really impressive. And so I think that's what that Chiefs team is. I thought the 49ers, when you look at how fast they've turned that program over, it's been really impressive. And what they've done with that defense and the leadership that they have on that team, they're also, a team that's built to sustain and be successful for years to come.
What do you, Malcolm Jenkins here on the Rich Eisen Show, and then now the Eagles. tons of coaching changes, tons of turnover on that coaching staff. Are you surprised by that?
No. I mean, some, like we lost Corey Underland to a D coordinator, but he's the defensive backs coach. He's now the D coordinator of the Detroit Lions, which was going to happen at some point. He passed on like a few years in a row, passed on some D coordinator jobs. I think there's going to be a lot of change this offseason for the whole organization. I just think we just at that junction point. And so it usually starts with the coaches, and we'll see what happens with players. And then you show up in the spring, you figure out who your team is, and then you move from there.
Now you're on the last year of your contract?
I have one more year left.
Okay, one more year left. What's your future, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I was really looking forward to hopefully getting something done or a deal done during the season. That didn't happen. And so now it's just kind of as we approach, the end of the year and free agency, all those different things. Hopefully we can get something done, before then. But if not, I'm looking to get a new contract or figure out what my future is.
So do you think, like as you and I are sitting here right now, Malcolm Jenkins, that you will finish your career in Philadelphia?
I really hope so. I mean, that's my home, and I live there. I love that city. I love that organization and that team and just what, I've really established there in that city. So hopefully I can be there, but I also understand, this is a business. I've been
sure.
I got to Philly kind of from the same situation in New Orleans.
Right.
Same thing. Love that city, love the people, but at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do.
Right, of course. And then I started the interview saying that you're from New Jersey. Piscataway is further up north than Philadelphia, but you must have family there still, I imagine.
Oh yeah,
right?
I mean, moving to Philly was really for me like the turning point in my career, just and really my life, just being able to get to that city with my trajectory of my career changed. Being back closer to home, closer to family, closer to friends, in a larger market, all of those things have been great for me. So yeah, that'll still, even if I end up somewhere else, that'll still be my home.
Okay. I'd like to take a break and then on the other side of this, talk about the business of football, what's going on. I know why you're out here in Los Angeles, right? You're part of the player reps all meeting together.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about your foundation, the Malcolm Jenkins Foundation, and JenkinsFoundation.org. And then I'm always straight up with you. I'm going to keep you talking, run out the clock before we can get to what I'm sure you want to talk about in the college football season.
We don't even got to go there.
No, I'm always going to shoot you straight.
It's a
I just want to keep talking. I just want to keep talking until it's just, we're out of time.
I got to go. That's cool.
Do you really think that's cool?
It's no need to be the dead horse. I think it's pretty. Usually when I come here, I got ammo. I'm kind of tired of it.
Kind of tired of it.
It's boring. I wish you guys would do something about your program.
Well, we're out of time. Wow, that came fast. Malcolm Jenkins is here on the Rich Eisen Show. At Malcolm Jenkins on Twitter. At Malcolm Jenkins 27 on Instagram. We'll come back and find out what the future holds for the NFL collective bargaining agreement, and then so much more. Right here with Malcolm Jenkins on the Rich Eisen Show. Don't go anywhere. Another segment chatting here with three-time Pro Bowler and two-time Super Bowl champion Malcolm Jenkins from the Philadelphia Eagles, who I surprised with a stat that you didn't even know about yourself. Only guy to beat Brady and Manning in a Super Bowl. Are you aware you played every defensive snap for the fifth time in 6 seasons?
I'm aware of that.
Okay, you're aware of that. Are you aware that you've never missed a game since signing with the Eagles in 2014?
I'm aware of that.
Okay. Are you aware that this is the actual 10-year anniversary of your Super Bowl championship with the Saints today?
Today?
Yes.
I'm not aware
There
of that.
you go.
There you go.
10 years today.
Yeah, that was a great
crazy.
time.
Oh, my gosh. All right, so let's talk about the here and now and the future. You were part of the NFL Players Association player rep meeting that was here in Los Angeles.
Yep.
How do you think it went?
I thought it went well. I mean, whenever it comes down to the business of football, especially from the players, we've got to try to get 2,000 players and bodies kind of on the same accord. And that takes a lot of, time on task. That takes a lot of, conversations for guys to be able to represent their locker rooms correctly, to be able to take those desires and bring them to the negotiating table with league owners. So I think, the more and more we continue to have a dialogue, we had another meeting last week we'll continue to meet as we go throughout this process.
So obviously, as you point out, there's I don't want to say different agendas, but obviously what you might consider important, another player might not, and vice versa. Like, for instance, you're not going to get in any trouble that might need some sort of player discipline, but you might also think that's important for the league writ large and your player body. What is the most important issue for you, Malcolm?
I mean, there are a ton of things. I think the biggest thing is from, when you look at the economics, there's obviously TV money that's going to come in. Ratings are up for the league, so there's an opportunity for all of us to make money there. There's this new gambling money and trying to figure out, how we define that and what that industry takes. And so all of those things, you want to figure out how we also, we want to strengthen our body. So it's not just the top guys that get these max contracts, but how do we strengthen, the everyday player that only makes it 3 or 4 years, but puts their bodies on the line and keeps the league kind of going. So there's priorities that we have as players, but that varies from different locker rooms. Some guys care about working conditions and our off-season programs and training camp, how many padded practices, things like that, the quality of life. So you got to weigh all of these different things, your benefits package, what life is going to be after the game. Like I said, what you're going to be doing during the game, and then the economics. And you start to weigh, what's more important, what's not. Me, in the back end of my career, I'm very concerned about the economics of the business, especially, further out. I think we have an opportunity as a league to continue to grow, but to make, to give ourselves as players a little bit more equity in this game and really, address this as partners in the business of football.
Are you talking about a revenue split? Is that what you're referring to, or what are you referring to?
Different ways.
There,
I mean, we've had different. It's different ways to go about it. You can talk about the revenue split, but like right now, the way it is, just throwing money on the table is not enough, because we've seen the top players get more and more money, and it squeezes and pinches kind of the middle class of our league. So it's not just about generating more revenue, but how do we disperse that revenue throughout our locker rooms is a lot of the conversation that we're having as players and with league management.
Malcolm Jenkins here on the Rich Eisen Show. Do you think franchise tags are here to stay, go away? What do you think? Because I know that affects only a small percentage, but it is something that might affect eventually.
I'm not sure if it's either here to stay or whatever, but I do think that for us as players, we want to limit as many restrictions as possible. It's kind of the opposite for the league. They want to be able to control, players. So I think there's a fine line, some things that are reasonable, but I think for some of our top guys, you want them in the market because they set the market. They, if such and such hits the market, he makes more and more money. Everyone who follows up makes more. So you don't want your best players to be restricted. And so there's going to be some discussions of, if not, probably not eliminating, but of how we can manipulate that.
And the bright, shiny object for at least us in the media is a 17-game schedule. That's what everybody's talking about.
Yep.
What was the conversation about that in the room?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, with 17 games, like, what does that look like, and what does that mean on multiple things? How does that affect everybody financially? Are you getting paid for another game? What does that do to your body? Are there effects on your health? Playing a whole nother game, does that extend the season? Does that reduce your workload in the off season?
Well, what does it entail? What are you being told it would entail?
Right now, everything is very, very broad and vague. We haven't really gotten into the weeds of what that actually looks like.
Like an extra bye week and stuff like that?
I mean, there's a lot of, everything right now is just ideas of how we could make that work. And I think we'll be trying to figure out if that even makes sense for players. I don't think anybody wants to play another game. But I think, obviously, there's an opportunity to make more money to put, but like I said, we have to decide as players, is that worth it? And it's not just about the money, it's about our longevity as players, and obviously where that money goes. Is everybody going to see a bit of this new money, or is it going to stay at the top of the league? So all of those things are very, vague right now and broad, but we're continuing to kind of dissect them and figure out what our locker rooms want so we can properly represent that at the negotiating table.
And are there guys in the room saying, absolutely not, no 17 games, let's just move on? table it, finish it?
I think there's a wide spectrum of opinions. Some guys don't, and most of the veterans don't want to play another game.
Sure.
Because we know what the effects, of 16-game season is on the body already. But I think the majority of guys are open if it's worth it. If what comes with it is worth it, then we can negotiate. If not, then we won't. But I think it's too early for us to really even gauge where we are as a union.
All right, and then the last one for you on this subject is the conversation is, hey, the idea is to get it done before the new league year begins in the middle of next month, March 18th. That way, we know there's labor peace. Certainly that might help with television contract negotiations, that everybody knows you get in right now and you pay the premium price, you get labor peace for all this time.
Yeah.
What are the odds of that happening, do you think?
The odds, I can't give. I know players are not moving on that timeline. I think we have to make sure we get this right, and we don't want to feel like we're under the gun. We understand, the urgency and all of the things you just laid out, but that's not going to push us into, accepting a deal, taking a deal. I think we're still having meetings. We're talking, constantly through our locker rooms and to each other. I think, it's a possibility, but it's not something that we are pushing to be on that timeline.
Malcolm Jenkins here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk in the final few minutes we have here about what's going on with you. What is Listen Up Media that you are launching, sir?
Last year I started a production company called Listen Up Media with the intentions of just really owning my own storytelling, being able to put out films, whether it's documentaries or series or feature films or whatever, just that, own a narrative and change, take that narrative back for people of color and marginalized, communities, and be able to own that storytelling. And so the first project I'm on is called Black Boys. It's directed by Sonia Lohman. That'll be in the Toronto Film Festival. Was that next week? So that was a project I really enjoyed working on, allowed to help edit. It's about kind of the spectrum of humanity of Black boys and how even as early as grade school, that humanity is being tested and tried. There's another film called First Day Back, and that's about the first day of a school returning after there's been a school shooting and what that's like in Philadelphia, to be in a school where you have to go through metal detectors, you have to almost be imprisoned in your own school, and what effect that has on the kids that are there, how it's an almost impossible learning environment, but this is really a reality for a lot of schools, around the country. And that's a scripted film that'll also be at a Toronto Black Film Fest. So I'm just really looking forward to, learning and really owning those narratives.
And then there's the MalcolmJenkinsFoundation.org. I've been told, is this a suit that you're wearing, something from your own?
Oh, yeah. So I've been
line here?
Yeah, for about 2.5 years now. I've had Damari Seville, which is my clothing company. We have a brick and mortar in Philadelphia, so we do men's and women's suiting. So I've been, I pretty much design all the things that I wear. That's another passion project.
You've got a lot of those, man. And then you're entering your 12th season in the NFL.
Yes.
A dozen years. And then the Malcolm Jenkins Foundation. I've got about a minute left, and I'm not really running out the clock. I'm not talking about Michigan, Ohio State, but I do want to say just again, your foundation is remarkable, and what you have done. Being an Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee is a terrific. Tremendous thing to be.
Yeah.
And so what you've done is amazing.
Thank you.
It really is. Well, we are out of time. Right, I mean, Chris, tell them how the radio clock works. I mean, it's just...
well, we have about 30 seconds, Malcolm. Sorry about that.
So we can talk about Ohio State, Michigan.
It's actually too much
with
time.
Your coach, man?
What?
What are y'all doing with your coach?
We're going to have him be on the sidelines next year, Malcolm.
Y'all are standing by that, doubling down. Okay.
Well, I'm serious. We have literally run out of time. Thanks for coming on, Malcolm.
So is he.
At Malcolm Jenkins on Twitter. Here on the Rich Eisen Show. Don't go anywhere.
For more of the Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.